I'm an '80s kid, right? Well, kind of late '80s, early
Late
'90s
80s.
baby, right?
Yeah.
Late '80s, early '90s baby. Mostly we grew up though in the '90s,
Mm-hmm.
right? We grew up in the '90s, born in the '80s, but grew up in the '90s. So anybody who grew up in the '90s, an important part of your childhood was two channels: the Disney Channel, actually
Mm-hmm.
three, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Disney, Nickelodeon, and PBS. Right?
Yes.
PBS is where you had like your Mister Rogers and your Sesame Streets, and obviously Disney. Your what was on Disney?
Oh, so like a lot of animated series. A
Yeah,
lot
the
of
Gummy
animated series.
Bears,
Yeah.
Chippendale
The
Rescue
Little
Rangers.
Mermaid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
all of that. And then I was like Nickelodeon. You had your Rugrats. You had your
Mm-hmm.
all that. Your What Would You Do with
Patton.
Double Dare with Mark Summers, and like I was a Nick kid.
Mhm.
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, you're a
Amazing
Nick kid?
show.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Nick had the better shows. Um, it
Debatable.
did. Are, are You Afraid of the Dark? Shits
Okay,
on
so the
anything that
ones that
Disney
you or
came
that you're
came
listing
on.
are no, the ones that you're listing are good, right? The one that you, the temple, that was good too. But the show we're about to
Legends
talk
of the
about,
Hidden
like
Temple.
those shows I didn't like, but
What
the game
shows?
shows, like this show we're about to talk about, um, like his shows in particular. But
You
it's
didn't
a
like all
preference.
that?
No, no, I watched some of all that, but I was never a teenage boy. So those jokes are not funny to me and I don't like messy things. So, like, that's just my preference. I didn't
I'm
really
seeing
care.
it. I'm starting to really see a trend here. But I bet you
Why?
watch. I bet you like Clarissa Explains It All.
No, I did. I no, I didn't watch
Na
that.
na 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 na.
I can't stand you. That's not what this is about. This is not what this is about. I
I'm
did
just
like the
saying.
ones you're listing, but I don't like. I just don't think prank shows are that funny. I didn't like the green slime everywhere. Like it's just. I'm gonna explain it when we get into it because I think I had an epiphany watching this.
Okay. It's giving anti-black. But did you like
It's
Kenan and Kel?
not. What'd you say?
Did you like Kenan and Kel?
Yeah, I watched Kenan and Kel
Did you like Kenan and Kel?
for the most part.
Did you like Good Burger?
Yeah, I did. I actually did like that movie. I thought it was
Okay,
funny.
you was about to. I was about to revoke your damn car for
No,
real.
no, 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 no. That's what I'm saying. It's definitely like it's very specific.
Okay, interesting. Did you like Cousin Skeeter?
Skeeter. I don't know if I watched that one.
Cousin Skeeter was with Bill Bellamy, host playing the puppet, the Muppet of Cousin Skeeter.
I don't know if
Um,
I was allowed to watch some Nickelodeon show.
Robert Richard, who also is known as Arnez from One on One. He was
Mm-hmm.
the title. He was the main character in that, and a very very young Megan Good as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Shout out to
With
Dr.
Maya
King's
Brown.
wife. Um,
I can't deal.
but so last night, um, or not last night. Well, yeah, at the time of the recording, I caught up with this new documentary. It's on ID Discovery ID, but also I watched it on Max because I
Yeah.
don't have cable because it's 2024. And
And what are you doing with cable still?
what do you do with cable still? So I watched it on Max, and I watched it all last night because I was working during the weekend, didn't have time to watch it. But Quiet on Set, right? Quiet on Set is a documentary inside the world of Nickelodeon in the '90s. It really uncovered some of the weird shit. I can't say it any different.
Yeah.
That was going on over there on Nickelodeon. We saw in it Brian Hearn, who was on all that. Giovanni Samuels, friend of mine, friend of the show. Actually, it was actually funny because I went back this morning and I was listening to the episode that she came on
Mm-hmm.
last year, and she kind of alluded to some of the things that she was talking about. There's
Definitely.
something that she said in that episode. Make sure that you guys go back and look for that episode. All right, it's called "Growing Up in Hollywood," an interview with Giovanni Samuels. All right, make sure that you go check that out. And I'll include the link in the show notes. But she said something that stood out to me, and then we'll get into the documentary. She said that as the token black girl, she says she never felt like she really belonged on the set.
Mm-hmm.
Then watching the documentary, I'm like, oh, that's what she meant because there was a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like racial shit.
Yeah.
Right. And then like the black people, the black cast members outside of Kenan and Kel, they didn't
Yeah.
get no shine. They didn't get no love. They were ignored. They were passed over. They were secondary.
Mm-hmm.
There was this part in one of the girls who was on the black girl. I forget her name. I'm so sorry. Maybe you could look this up. The black girl who was on
Raquel.
the on the Man and Vine show.
Yeah.
Okay. When she got a birthday cake for her birthday, and then
That was
Dan Schneider
wild.
yelled and told her she didn't deserve a cake that big
Why'd you get her a cake that big? She didn't deserve that. What?
because she wasn't the star of the show. That was crazy to me. But let's talk about some of the things, all right? So
Mm-hmm.
Dan Schneider in this coming out of this, it seems to be that he's a groomer.
Yeah, for sure.
He's an enabler he's for sure an enabler.
100%.
Um, so I don't know if he actually personally sexually harassed anybody or sexually assaulted
Well,
anybody.
assaulted because the harassment.
Yeah, we know he sexually harassed somebody. We'll get to that. I don't know if
Hmm.
he actually sexually assaulted someone.
Yeah, no one
But
said
we
that.
do know what we do know is he harassed children
Yeah.
as well as his employees,
Mm-hmm. Female.
specifically his female employees.
Yeah.
What we do know is he's a groomer.
Mm-hmm.
What we do know is he had inappropriate relationships, maybe not sexual, but
Mm-hmm.
inappropriate relationships with minors. There's no reason why a minor teenage child should be rubbing on a grown man's back, giving him a back massage.
Nick
There's a
head.
part where Giovanni said that one of the producers made her stand on his back and
Yeah,
crack his back.
walk on his back. Virgil. Mm.
Yes, Virgil. Um, um, so he's an enabler. He's a racist.
For sure.
We saw the scene where Brian Hearn talks about how he had to play basically a drug dealer, but what was it? It was cookies, I
Yeah,
want to
it was
say.
cookie, but it was a weird thing because he put him in Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah.
So it was like two things. It's like, how are
Hmm.
you a sexist, a racist, and an enabler to pedophilia? Like,
Hmm. Speaking of pedophilia, let's talk about that.
mhm.
I was really appalled watching this, Lizzie,
Yeah, I love
because
that.
I didn't notice this as a child because I was a
Mm,
kid.
yeah,
The scene where Pickle Man, I just realized that Pickle Man or Pico, whatever,
with the
is
whole like
there's literally that's a glory hole.
it's a glory hole. Yeah,
If your children are here, tell them to go away. So
yeah.
basically, one, you shouldn't be listening to this podcast or watching this podcast with children,
Ever with your children.
like ever, because it's not for kids. Okay.
Yeah.
So a glory hole, for those who listen who don't know, is a hole that's in a wall that people put their genitalia through to have it serviced. And there was literally a scene where the man is at the bathroom. There's a hole in the wall outside of the bathroom. He puts this pickle through the hole. Ray Romano's on the other end, pulls the pickle through the
Hmm.
hole and puts it in his mouth.
Hmm.
That's a glory hole.
Yeah, it was.
There was the whole nose boy skit where this man's nose, like the nose was built like it looked like a penis. It looked
It
like
looked
a
like a
penis and
penis. Yeah.
balls. And then when he
Hmm.
sneezed and a white gooey
Hmm.
substance went flying into the woman's to the woman's face, right? I'm
Yeah.
laughing not because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's not funny. And I'm laughing because how the hell did they get away with this? There was the scene
Yeah.
where the girl was on the floor on her knees with her mouth open and the boy
Ugh.
turned on the faucet and the faucet is spraying in a way that it looks like
Like someone's peeing in her mouth. Like, but this is my beef with this genre. And when I watched it, that was the epiphany I had. I was like, people get on me for not liking when men dress up as women and not liking this kind of comedy, but like it's always been gross to me. And there were times like I actually texted my mom because I was like, Mom, did you make me stop watching all that? Or like, did you turn it off? She's like, there are times that I had just turned the channel because I didn't like what they were doing.
Mhm.
But like you weren't not allowed to see what it was. But when I saw this as an adult, I was like, this makes so much sense. Like I just don't think that's funny. Like I don't I didn't think it was funny as a kid and I don't think it's funny as an adult.
like when he put the peanut butter all over Brian,
Ooh, that
and
was
had the
torture.
dogs, and had the dogs lick it off, and then like you could hear Brian saying, "I don't like this. I
Yeah.
don't like this," but that was actually real. He actually
Yeah.
didn't like that.
He looked so uncomfortable. Like when you look at it, it's
Hmm.
not just like, ew, this is gross and we're all playing a game. It's like, can it stop now? Like, please
Hmm.
stop. Right. And I think that was a very uncomfortable part with me watching it. Was like,
Because there was a power dynamic, right?
yeah.
And like they briefly talked about, a lot of these kids were the sole breadwinners for their families, or the main breadwinners for their family. And if you shake the table too much, you can
Hmm.
get fired. You can
Yeah.
always go somewhere else. And let's not lie. Dan Schneider was a star maker.
Yeah.
So he was a very powerful man in the industry.
Hmm.
And as we've seen with people like your Diddy's,
Yeah.
when you're a star maker, when you're very powerful, people don't want to buck the system, because when you buck the system, that could get you like a Tiffany Evans.
Yeah. You like
Nowhere.
lose the right to work in your passion. Like
Hmm.
if you actually speak up for just basic
Hmm.
human rights, like that part of it, like I don't think people really caught on to even parts where he was like, you can do whatever you want to them, like, yeah, let's have fun. This was like a torturous thing. Like I really thought that one of the women that was talking about him, about like how he looked, what kind of kid he said he was, and now he was in power and he was going to do whatever he wanted to what he thought were more beautiful people than him. That was a huge part of that for me, because
Hmm.
he wanted women to bow to him, and he said he was the fat kid growing up and women didn't like him, so now he was going to make them all do what he wanted. That's dangerous and it's disgusting.
So well, there's one more part for y'all who are listening that hasn't come. I think it
Hmm.
comes out this weekend.
Hmm.
And it's going to talk about Josh Peck,
From
right?
Drake and Josh,
Is that his
yeah.
name?
Yeah, the guy that was assaulting Drake, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drake Bell.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, that's crazy. So he was assaulting him, and there's actually another video of him along with a very young Brian Peck, who I'm speaking of. There's another
Yeah.
video of him with a very young Leonardo DiCaprio on the
Yeah.
set of Growing Pains.
Hmm.
And he was talking about, he used the word sexy. He said, "Oh, you're such a sexy young boy." Calling young boys sexy is weird. Any
Yeah.
calling anyone under the age of 18 sexy is weird.
Yeah.
Um, so like he would befriend these children and be like, "Oh, I'm your big brother, I'm your mentor." He would isolate them from their family members, and these are all like things that abusers do.
Yeah.
These are abusers tactics, and it was just I had to watch it, and like I couldn't watch the two episodes back to back because it was just it was so much, and it was just like
Yeah.
as somebody who was molested growing up by a person in power, by a teacher, and someone who held the even how he would manipulate me and the other two people he was molesting in our class. He would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna tell your parents that y'all are, being naughty if you don't do what I tell you to do. This is a Christian school. Y'all shouldn't be doing these things." And we're children. So as
Yeah.
children, we're like, "Oh my God, I don't want to get in trouble. So I'm just gonna continue to let this happen." Right.
Hmm.
And I feel like a lot of that stuff happened on set, just from the things that we saw.
Yeah.
And then if we look at certain people, Amanda Bynes, can we talk about Amanda Bynes? We've
Hmm.
seen Amanda Bynes over the years deteriorate, drugs, alcohol, mental health issues, and she's a butt of all. She's become a butt of jokes, right? Now,
Hmm.
has she done some things that are like she's been kind of racist? Not kind of racist. She used the N word.
Yeah.
There's other things that she has done that's like, damn, girl. But at the same time, it's like I get it. I'm not making
Hmm.
excuses for her, but she went through a lot. We don't even know
Yeah.
what exactly she went through, but we do know that she had a inappropriate. No. Dan Schneider had an inappropriate relationship with her
Yeah, because
when he
the
was
whole
in the when he was in a pool with her and like
the jacuzzi, and then like
yes,
this whole running away situation, and she was with him.
yeah, and trying to
Like
get her
all of that.
emancipated.
Oh, that's just so disgusting.
And like I don't think we give her flowers enough.
Mm-mm.
Amanda Bynes is a comedic genius, but
Yeah.
especially when it comes to physical comedy. And I was
Mhm.
watching the little montage they were doing for her, and it made me think about it made me think back on Amanda Bynes as her career, and like she was so talented.
Yeah.
I would say that Amanda Bynes reminded me of a young Lucille Ball.
Yeah, that's good.
I know, I cooked with that.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
Lucille Ball was just like very animated, and they said something, and they were talking about in the in the documentary how like in the industry women usually either they present you as like the quirky best friend in shows
And
or overly sexual. You feel me?
mhm.
But
Yeah.
she didn't fit into that role. And like, so when I was watching that, I was like, oh my gosh, she was Lucille Ball. Because I
Yeah.
love Lucy. She wasn't overly sexual.
No.
She was just all comedy driven and
Mhm.
physical comedy, her expressions, her
Mhm.
falling down, like all of that. And that's what Amanda Bynes gave. She was on her way to becoming a big star. I think. I think
Yeah.
she should. I think Amanda Bynes should be in a different place than she is right now. Much
For
like a lot of them, Brian Hearn,
sure.
Giovanni freaking Samuels. There's
Mhm.
so many people, but they were just done so poorly and done poorly in different ways.
Yeah.
Whether it was the racial stuff.
Mhm.
Giovanni shared with us last time that she was on there. She had to do her own hair because they
Yeah.
didn't have anybody on set to do hair. Brian shared on the documentary that there was a moment where Dan came into makeup and said his skin needs to be dark as charcoal.
So crazy.
Especially
Yeah.
against that. Like, don't put it past it's crazy to me. So then
Yeah.
that makes me think of what other people have dealt with. What did Orlando Brown deal with over on Disney? Why is he the
Yeah.
way he is right now?
Hmm. Well, I think it's also strange too. Something that I pulled out from it was that it's so hard. When a child star, like they said that a parent or a teacher is always supposed to be present.
Hmm.
There's so many allowances to make that child an adult because of the type of work that they're doing. And there's so much victim blaming, but people are forgetting that their brain isn't even fully developed yet, right? Like they're talented at something, but they're still maturing into life.
Hmm.
So there's several dynamics of like depending on who their parent was. So I feel like Brian Hearn's mother, like she was a good mother, and she was like, no, I'm watching, I'm gonna stay present, right? Which ultimately came off as a punishment to him,
Hmm.
which still affected their relationship, right? But then there are
Yes.
parents like Drake Bell's parent, who was constantly trying to advocate, but not too much, so he wouldn't take the opportunity away from his kid. Then there was Brandy's mom, who was not watching, was just like, okay, yeah, this is fine for my daughter to write letters with a grown man. Like there's so many ways that the children are given allowances that adults have, that non-present parents may have for their kid. And some of the things that I'm reading for people that are like, well, if they weren't in showbiz, this wouldn't have happened to them. Like,
Hmm.
where is our barometer of understanding of how to protect children?
Right. Because it can happen anywhere. We've seen people just
Mhm.
going to school and the music teacher does it.
Yeah,
The the football coach, the
church,
basketball coach, church, the youth
the youth
pastor,
pastor, the volunteers.
the volunteers, like the neighbor. Like it can
Mhm.
happen anywhere. So once again, that goes to the victim blaming, and we do that a lot. We're like,
Yeah.
oh well, it comes with the territory. What?
Mhm.
We heard that with everything with Diddy. Like, oh, Cassie knew what she was getting into.
No,
Oh,
no, she didn't.
the
Like, that's the
kids.
thing. Oh, that pisses me off.
Well, you
Sorry.
know that Hollywood is dark, so you got to make sure that you protect your children. when you're even trying to get them into Hollywood.
But like even when you look at Brian's story and when he was like, I thought that I was doing this for my family, we were about to get out the hood, like we were about to, really make more money. Um,
Hmm.
there's such a harsh criticism, but I feel like that's a dynamic of life circumstance. So
Hmm.
why are we saying that they put themselves in a position for that? That doesn't
Hmm.
make sense to me. Cause I feel like people like to be like, oh, well, you don't have to be famous. True, no one
Hmm.
has to be famous, but also if you're gifted at something, why that you're passionate about, why wouldn't you try to pursue it?
Right.
Like Drake Bell's father, I feel like did everything that he could.
He did. I felt bad for him.
I actually cried. Like that's where I had to take a break. At the point where he said my son didn't want me to be a manager anymore, like I literally started crying because I was like, "Oh my gosh." Like and the very thing that he told his ex-wife not to do, she did. And that opened the door all the way open. Like but then again that to me is like my parents were so strict about where I could stay and what I could do.
Hmm.
Like I was not allowed to spend the night over people's houses. I remember I lost a friend because of this in high school because she had a brother and her father, and my parents were just uncomfortable. And so her mom said, like, I don't like your mom, and I don't want you to be friends with her anymore because she's judging my family. And I'm like, no, I can't spend the night anywhere that males are. Like, that's just not, we don't do that. And people were very mean to me when I was younger for it. So it kind of reminded me that other people are loose with their children and they're so like, oh, everything's gonna be okay. Like I didn't grow up in that kind of household. I didn't grow up with rose colored glasses that adults wouldn't have done or touched me or said things to me. So like I was a kid that a youth pastor, this one made me think of with Drake Bell because when he said the first time he made him uncomfortable at Disneyland, he didn't say anything because he was not going to be able to go to auditions. And it reminded me of a youth pastor telling me that like I was going to grow up good and that my boobs were really big. So I needed to wear other shirts. A male youth pastor, right? And I went and told my parents because I didn't care if I led worship. I didn't care. Like I just felt like he was gross. But a lot of kids don't have that indicator because the parent is like, well, you just have to do certain things to be where you want to be. So I really took a look at the parenting as well, and I know that it hurt her relationship, Brian Hearn's mother and him, but I think she did the right thing
Hmm.
by asking questions, by telling her son like, no, you need to speak to me about it. And then even seeing how he responded by being like, no, my mom's gonna raise hell, so I can't tell her. Like those are dynamics that people don't talk about in raising children that if you don't make it a safe place for your child, something could be happening to them.
Mm.
If they get in trouble for coming to tell you, then like what's the point of telling you?
I even look at Drake, Josh Drake's. He was in 2021. He got probation for child endangerment. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
And it was like there was some inappropriate behaviors that he had himself with a young girl.
Yeah.
Ended up taking a plea deal and all of that. Um, and that kind of speaks to, and once again, not making excuses for anybody, but that speaks to people who are done, and now it makes sense.
Mhm.
People who are abused often become abusers,
Yeah.
and it's a vicious cycle.
Mhm.
Um, it's crazy that Dan Schneider is just was out here just had full reign, full control to do whatever he does, and I feel like Nickelodeon knew about it. I
Oh, for
feel like
sure.
Paramount knew about it, but he makes the money.
Yeah.
And when you Viacom, probably at that time, yeah, it was
Mhm.
Viacom at the time. They're making money. Same with the WWE and Vince McMahon. They knew
Yeah.
that man was out here doing very vile, terrible things to women.
Mhm.
But it wasn't until much down the road that once when they see you as disposable, then they're like, oh yeah, let's pile on him.
Yeah.
Let's. hold his feet to the fire. We don't stand behind this, but you knew about it. Because
Hmm.
I don't feel like you could work that closely to people. I don't think Vince McMahon could work that close to the other executives and they not know that he was literally running a sex trafficking ring with his female employees. I don't believe that Dan Schneider was doing all of these things over at Nickelodeon and people didn't know. I don't believe that Diddy was just walking around his studio butt ass naked and nobody nobody knew about what he was doing to these artists and these assistants and all of these things.
Well, don't they usually flock together? I think that's the thing that this
Mm.
documentary shows the best is that there was the handy guy, that's his last name, and then there was the Peck guy, and those are just two that were highlighted. Then Virgil, like he wasn't a convicted of anything, but he was had inappropriate behavior, right?
Hmm.
Like he wasn't highlighted to as somebody that was in sexual harassment, but he was inappropriate with children and the way that they touched him, right? So I
Hmm.
feel like the theme is not, oh, this is just isolated to Dan. The theme is they pick people that they know will allow this kind of behavior. If you look at the two female writers in the beginning that ended up getting one fired first and then the other quit, they didn't last because they couldn't take the environment that all of these white males had
Hmm.
placed them in, because they didn't agree with, like, what was it, the character where the last name was Taint? Like,
Yeah.
excuse me? Like, it was happening in the writing room. So I think that a lot of times people want to be blinded to the fact that, like, Dan Schneider is not just Dan Schneider, it is the entire group of people. And,
Hmm.
like, there may be a few people that are, they're not physically doing it, they're enablers, but they're also, people that mute themselves. So to me they're just as bad because you saw this and you were like, well, my job's more important, or this just happens. Like, yeah, I can't deal with that either. So I think that they build teams of people that accept pedophilia, teams of
Mm.
people that accept sexual harassment and sexism, like, and it's just like, oh, you're the weird person if you say something about it.
And this happens in, like we said, it happens even in academia.
Oh,
You will
for sure.
see like professors use their power in the position to keep people silent, and they're like, if you say something, good luck on getting, good luck on graduating, good luck on
Hmm.
finding a job when you get out of here. I
Hmm.
am a part of this fraternity, and all I have to do excuse me, and all I have to do is say
Make
something
one
to
call.
somebody, make one phone call, and you'll be blackballed. Like, blackballing is a real thing in every single industry, in every
Hmm.
single arena, in every single space. So a lot of people didn't say anything out of fear. The ladies even said, we feared for our jobs.
Yeah.
The
And the
wrong
one writer
thing.
who sued him, she got like not much out of the situation.
Yeah.
You know,
Never
it
work
altered
again.
her life.
Never work again. And it altered a lot of these people's lives. It
Hmm.
altered Giovanni's life. It altered Brian's life. So many others. Um,
Hmm.
I want them to win. All of these kids, I want them to win.
Yeah.
Like, cause well, they're not kids no more, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
if that's something that is truly still desired, I hope that there's somebody out there who like Issa Rae sees that and like, let me call Giovanni Samuels
Yeah.
and give her a job, right?
Hmm.
Let me call Brian Hearn and put him on this project. I hope that
Yeah.
your Jordan Peels do the same thing. Your Abbott Elementary, Quinta Brunson. Hey, Giovanni, we feel like you would be a great addition to Abbott Elementary. We're bringing you on. Like, these are the things that I want to see because they're owed a lot. And granted, I just named the black actors and actresses, but everybody's owed a lot. But I'm specifically talking about, the black actors and actresses right now.
Yeah.
They're owed a lot, and they deserve so much more because they're such a integral part of so many people's childhood. Whether Giovanni on all that to That's So Raven to Zach and Cody to the
Hmm.
Freedom Riders to Bring It On. She's the original Carisha, period.
Yeah.
The original Carisha, okay,
Hmm.
was Giovanni Samuel. So um we never know what these people actually go through, what these child stars actually go through and what they actually went through. And this, to me, the documentary was just really eye opening because you always hear that the industry is corrupt and the casting couch this, but like actually hearing it, and not only hearing it, but actually watching the shit that they put in plain sight, that was so wild to me. Like
Mhm.
all of those skits, I even think about the skit where Kenan Thompson was in the bathtub with all the chocolate sauce and like,
Mhm. Mhm.
what was your obsession with covering children in liquids and
Yeah, because it's
slimy
actually like a
liquids?
fetish called sploshing.
Okay,
So, yeah, do you know what that is?
no.
No? Okay. I get to teach you guys something today. And I know this because I read a book, and used to be a show, Secret Diaries of Call Girl. And so one of the guys asked her to splosh, which is like food or liquids, like sitting on it or pouring it over you or eating fruit, like where it like literally splashes over your body. And there's some people that like to watch it where someone has clothes on, and there's some people that watch it where someone has lingerie or takes their clothes off. And so when I saw that, I was like, bro, this is sloshing for sure. Like, you want to see someone like splash around in food items. And he definitely had a food issue because he made the lady, first writer, eat the 2 liters of ice cream or something like over. And I was like, this is exactly what that is. That's what he
Mm,
likes. And that's gross. You didn't know what it was.
I didn't. That's gross.
It's so gross.
Yikes. So yeah, just seeing all the stuff that was in plain sight is like, this is weird. This is weird. And I was like,
Mhm.
wait, they showed this shit on TV?
Yeah, it's for kids, but it was really with an adult, like huge adult tinge, right? So I'm just like, did some people's parents know that this is what this was and they thought it was funny too?
Even when like Ariana Grande, that scene where she's like on the bed and laying down, and
Oh, that is can't
okay, so on the bed laying down, and she just pours water on her, and the camera is shooting down, and like it's cold water, so anytime you get like something cold on you, you're gonna
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
So like they filmed this in a way as she was wet with sweat. That's what it appears to be, right? And
Mhm.
then she's having an orgasm. That's what I got from
Yeah.
that.
It gave oiled up for me. It gave
Okay.
oiled up with cum shot. Like that's what that gave
Okay.
to me. Like,
Regardless, it was
yeah.
something inappropriate, and then there was the potato. Um, let's see if we can. What was it? If we
She
can
said,
milk a potato.
yeah, she's like, if we milk a potato, like, come on, give me the juice. Like, what? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And it's Ariana's dumb, airy voice. She's like, give me the juice.
And then I just I am concerned for these people, all of these adults, mental health, and I hope
Yeah.
that they're okay mentally. And they did so much to entertain us, and that's why I feel like they deserve their flowers. These
Yeah.
kids deserve their flowers because they so much of their childhood was managed and mismanaged. Hello, and
Yeah.
just their childhoods were stripped away from them, and they were forced to do things and be a part of things that they didn't have to do. That they were forced to do things and be a part of things that they should have never had to do.
Hmm.
Um, and a combination of the parents not caring, the parents not knowing, the parents
Hmm.
being too afraid that it will blackball their children from doing something that they love, right? Nobody wants to tell their children, hey, we can't do this anymore. I know you love it, but you can't do this anymore. And it's for your safety because kids don't care about that, right? When we was kids, all I knew was, hey, I can't go over to my friend's house. All my other friends, they hang out together and have sleepovers, but I can't do that. I didn't know why. I just thought my parents are jackasses. My
Oh,
parents are
really?
too, yeah, my parents are too strict.
Mhm.
I'm sick of them. Ugh. I'm sick
Wait,
of
so
them.
your parents didn't tell you why? Like, they
Not
didn't.
really.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. My
Black
parents told me
parents?
why, but I
Yeah,
think it's
but
because
my
of a parent that was assaulted. So.
no, my parents said that we don't do that. I don't know them people. So
Mm.
kind of, but it's more of our household was I'm in charge. Y'all are the children.
Mhm.
I brought you into this world. I can take you out. I
Mhm.
pay the bills. You don't run nothing in my house. You feel me?
Mhm.
It was
Okay.
never that much explanation on anything. It was you don't. No, you don't do this. We don't do this. We don't
Mhm.
do this in this house. We don't do this in this house. The Bible says X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So like a lot of kids don't understand. Even when you explain it to them, sometimes they still like, oh, whatever, right?
Yeah, I thought it
Um,
sucked, but like
yeah,
because for me, it was not like this for my sisters, but for me being the youngest, they took time to have conversation with me about things.
hmm
And so even like stuff, that's why I was texting my mom about it, like all that. Um, we just openly talked about things, right? Like,
hmm
and they just explained more to me. So I was like, I thought it sucked, but I was like, well, honestly, I don't want to be touched. Like I don't want someone to harm me. So I
yeah,
didn't. It didn't like affect me, but I think that's the part that was hard about watching some of like, especially with Brian Hearn. Like his really troubled me because I it didn't feel like he was well. Like you could kind of tell the people that were well and were not. And he didn't say like I'm a black man in therapy.
yeah,
But it was troubling because I was just like, wow, like it feels like he's had an odd against his mother for this whole time. But like she was being such a good mom.
hmm
But these things were stripped away from him. So I know I get what you're saying. I just think like from the way I grew up, I knew what it was because I grew up with a parent that had been assaulted. So they
mm
talked about it a lot more and warned me a lot more. And sometimes I would realize that it was fear that they had. So like
mm
I'd be like, okay, I don't get to do this because this parent is afraid that this is going to happen to me.
mm
And that kind of helps me a little bit too. But like I grew up wanting to go to auditions. I did like local things. But when it came to, I remember they took me to an audition that was like deeper into LA. And like one of my parents got really, really terrified about the way someone was talking to me about my face. And then it was like, yeah, we're not going to do this because I have to be right there on set with you. I have to be right there if you're changing to do modeling things.
mm
So I did like little girls' dresses for like department stores and stuff like that. But there was always this dynamic of, well, it's okay. She'll just be with us and you guys can be over there. And like my parents weren't for it. And when they
mm
explained it, I was just like, okay, like I want to do that. But seeing this
mm
made me be way more grateful for my overprotective parents,
hmm
and they're Christians too, but they didn't put it always on Christianity. It was just like we know LA, we know this industry, we know what's happened. My mom worked behind the scenes in some of the industry, and so she was just like, no, it's not happening. But I didn't. I don't know why I didn't have a bad reaction to it. I was just like, that kind of
mm
sucks. That kind of sucks. Like that was my thing. Like that kind of sucks, but I could still do these activities. But my parents
And
weren't depending on me to pay the bills either.
that part,
Hmm.
that part. And it can happen so quickly. That's the thing. It can happen
Yeah.
like very innocently as well.
Hmm.
It starts off small. I remember my own situation. It started off with this teacher who took a liking to three of his students,
Mm.
two males and one girl. And he would have us stay after class. And he was like, "Hey, I got y'all want." He had a snack closet, right? With
Mm.
like that he would buy, and he would reward the students, with snacks if they did good, Slim Jims and chips and candies and cookies and ho hos and the little Hostess cupcakes, the chocolate
Hmm.
ones with the cream filling and all of that.
Oh,
And
those are good.
then, huh?
He had the good snacks. I'm sorry. That's really bad, but
Yeah,
he had the
yeah.
good snacks.
And that's how you got the kids.
Right.
And I remember he would like have us stay after class and like we had to be in like fifth, maybe fifth grade, maybe.
Hmm.
And he had like these beanbag chairs, and he would like have us sit around in a circle with his beanbag chairs and pass us out snacks. And then he would be like, "Hey, sit on his lap. Hey, tell the girls sit on one of our laps while we eat our snacks, right?" Um, and then it would escalate to like he would make us like dry hump each other. He's like, "Oh, you guys are just wrestling. You guys like wrestling, don't you? Who's your favorite wrestlers?" He's like, "I'm a huge wrestling fan too." He's like, "If y'all do a match right now, I'll give y'all all more, candy." And then we would be like, like the kid in you, like, wait, this is weird.
It
I don't
feels
think
weird.
this is.
The
Yeah,
weird
this feels weird. Um, then it would be like I remember there was a conversation. I said that. I said, "Yo, this feels weird," and he's like, "Oh, does it?" And he was like, "I can always tell your parents that y'all are violating the like school conduct rules." And this was a Christian school, so we were like they pay tuition, and I would hate for your parents to lose all their money. Don't they work very hard? Do you
hmm
want to be responsible for your parents? So we just went on with it until one day I was just like having a conversation. I'll never forget with my mom. And I was like, hey, I gotta tell you something. And I'm like, this is what's happening. And then next thing I know, there was a conversation with the other two kids' parents between my parents and their parents. And then they went to the school and he didn't even get removed right away.
Mm. That's
So
wild.
he was still teaching at the well, he was still at the school. He was just on probation, so he couldn't be in the classroom. But he would still see us, and he was like it was evil looks and shit when he was when he would see us. So yeah,
That is infuriating.
they kept our abuser inside of the school because he was a very popular teacher. Everybody loved him, and all the kids loved him
Well, isn't
because
that
he
a
was so
theme?
kind and he was so nice and he had a personality and like so
Mhm.
whew, while I was watching the Nickelodeon documentary, that's what I got from Dan. He seemed like a great person, but then
Mhm.
behind closed doors, he was really manipulative and just a vile piece of shit human being.
Yeah, him and the Peck guy.
Mm-hmm.
Peck even more. Like, and thanks for sharing that with
Yeah.
Cultureholics because I feel like a lot of people, like even we saw Drake Bell, he couldn't describe what happened to him or
Mm-hmm.
what was going on, right? And people don't know that other people have that same experience.
Yeah. A
You
lot
know?
of people.
Yeah.
Because in our culture, we don't talk about it. It's what
hmm
happens in this house stays in this house. Don't talk about it. Don't put our business out in the street. So people, it's not something I even talked about until I was like much, 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 much older.
hmm
Because I put it into a place where, in the back of my head, where I was like, it didn't matter. It didn't. It doesn't matter. I'm good. But if we don't talk about this shit, we don't heal from it.
Yeah. Because, like, being under that level of manipulation, it can shape the way you view things and yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what we see throughout the documentary and in other people's lives. Like, we're always so harsh with the way people are if they're standoffish or they don't want someone touching them or they're a little suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
But these are natural things that, like, if you go to therapy, a therapist will tell you, like, you respond that way because this happened to you as a child. Um, I think when we're talking about the way abusers are, what for me is so hard, like we have discernment, some of us, but like, I didn't mean it like that, but I'm just
But
saying,
I know what you mean.
some of us have discernment, right? And with Peck, especially, I felt like no one was using that discernment but Drake Bell's father. It was just like, oh, well, he's fun and he's this, and you're just, oh, they even accused him. They accused him of not liking or being scared of a homosexual man.
Mm-hmm.
That part was really like hard because it wasn't that what he was doing was tied to homosexuality. It was tied to he likes little boys, like
Mm-hmm.
children. He was being inappropriate and touching children. like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I sometimes I want to talk to the people that do the abuse and be like, how did you get here? Like, what was your thought process? Why do you do these things? Because there is such a gregarious, like, personality. Like, for instance, being obsessed with Wayne Gacy. That part blew me.
Not only obsessed with John Wayne Gacy,
But
he was
writing
a pen.
letters.
Yeah, they were pen pals. That's insane. Being pen pals with a
Serial
murderer.
killer?
not a murderer, a serial
A
killer.
serial killer who was putting bodies under the house, like, and chopping off their head to do sodomy. Like, for me, I was like, man, something must be really wrong with me then compared to most people, because my kid would not be next to that kind of person again. Like,
Hmm.
there's no way that you can explain to me being pen pals with Wayne Gacy. How do you explain that?
Yeah, it's
Like,
crazy.
in the case of, like, even Brandy's mother, like, I really try not to judge, because I'm like, I don't know. I like to say, like, I stopped saying never say never. I would never do something when I
Because you
was
don't know what you would
21.
do unless you're in the situation. I get you.
Right. Like, that was my thing. Like, until I hit 21, I was like, oh, I'd never do that. And then
Hmm.
I found myself in strip clubs.
Hmm.
Hello. So, but, like, I couldn't with Brandy's mom, because I was just like, you have the evidence to stop him. He sent a fully nude photo masturbating to your daughter.
Like, are you okay? Is everything okay?
And she didn't even have a career anyways. She didn't even want to go back and do it. So what was the point? So you had to wait. Like, they found thousands of child pornography images. Thousands. The plastic baggies with the trophies. Like, this is the stuff that I'm just like, now you want to cry about it. I was angry when it came to her story.
Okay.
I was angry. I'm gonna be honest. Because I was like, you want to be upset because there's a plastic baggie with your something from your daughter. But when it was happening, were you consciously present? That one pissed me off. Why?
Okay.
Why is this old man able to be a friend to your daughter and write letters and emails?
Well, I don't
Does
think
that make sense to you?
no. Well, I don't think grown people should be friends with children, anyways. I remember a couple years back where Millie Bobby Brown spoke
Mm,
on being friends with Drake, and I just thought it was weird because
that
Drake's
was
an
weird.
old man, right?
Hmm.
Why are you on the? I don't get on unless it's a family member.
Hmm.
I don't get on the phone with teenagers. We're
No.
not FaceTiming and texting like that.
Yeah.
Um, even the kids that I've mentored in the past, even if I did have to communicate with them via text or something, it was very straight down the middle,
Hmm.
like no room for anything.
Yeah.
Not texting. You shouldn't be texting your mentee and they're underage. Texting them at 1 in the morning.
I mean, you should be texting your mentee that's overage at 1 in the morning sometimes. I'm just sorry.
True.
Go ahead. Go
True.
ahead.
That's true.
Listen.
That's true as well. But you get what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
like,
because there's feelings, but children don't know how to appropriate those
yes.
feelings, right?
Because somebody told me about the Drake thing. They're like, oh well, they're both in the industry. He could be like a mentor to her. And I'm like,
No.
yeah, but no,
No,
it's
it's
inappropriate.
inappropriate. It's gross to see. What do you get out of being friends with a child? Like, I think about at the age that I'm at right now. Like, we're both 37, right? I
Hmm.
don't have a lot in common, and I'm around some 25-year-olds. But, like, I just went to lunch with a 25-year-old from my church, and she was just like, yeah, I know someone was like, yeah, you should be friends with Lizzie because she likes all the same things, but I don't know where to put you because I don't think that I'm like your peer. And I was like,
Hmm.
that's really healthy, right? Like,
Hmm.
and we don't have to give a title to the time that you spend with me yet. But yeah, like, I don't think it's friendship because she's 25. Like,
I mean,
she's doing things like that.
I think you can have friends who are younger than you.
Younger, but not like
Um,
13 years younger that are like confidences. Like, because I think sometimes people that are 25 and maybe they're really grown, I've seen they have trauma. And so it's a trauma bond, not a
right.
friendship.
Okay. Hmm. So you're saying that we know people think there's a cap on relationships when it
Uh
comes to
huh.
age, like romantic relationships when it comes to
Hmm.
age, right? So you're saying there's an age limit for friendships as well? Is that what
I
you're
think
telling me?
so. I think so. I don't know. I've never thought about it this way before, but I just don't. what do we have in commonality? Like, I guess there could be like hobby based things, right? Like,
Hmm.
I'll think about when I was in cosmetology school, I was over 30, but there were like 18-year-olds that we hung out at lunchtime, right? But like, we never made plans to go drink together. I never like was at a house party with that. You know what I'm saying? Because like, I'm not at house party age anymore.
So
Does that make sense to you?
yes and no. So
Okay.
one of my co-hosts, Justin, right?
Uh huh.
He's way younger than myself,
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, and definitely let me not definitely.
Don't shade him like that. We love you.
No, 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 no. Justin is no. He's our elder statesman.
Uh huh.
Um, but Justin's considerably younger than
Mhm.
um me, Ryan, and Alex.
Mhm.
Justin considers us his friend. I consider Justin a friend.
Okay.
But you're saying we can't be friends because
No,
we're
I'm
in
not saying
different
you
age.
can't be friends. I'm thinking of the context of Justin. He's a very mature young man. He's
Okay.
knowledgeable. He has thought. I could see where you guys would have commonality in conversation and being able to share life experiences.
Hmm.
So yeah, that is friendship. Um, but I think it's because of who he is as a person.
I just
You
saying I don't
know.
think we could just like say if somebody can't be friends with somebody, whatever, whatever. Because
No, I'm not saying that, but it's
friendship
weird.
manifests in different ways.
Yeah. But I do think it would be weird if you were like, I don't know how old he is, but like, I feel like the power dynamic between you and an 18-year-old would be kind
Mhm.
of different, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
So that's all I'm saying. It's just that I don't toss people away. So I do have there actually, and it's so funny. There's a guy that I know that's 25, and I've never thought that. Well, he's 26 now, but I never thought that he was that young,
Hmm.
right? Until he told me. And he's super like to me ahead in life.
Hmm.
So I don't know, like I don't throw people away that are that young, that much younger than
Okay.
me. But also I don't go looking for people younger to spend
Hmm.
time with.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair right there. Well, I'm gonna definitely that's going to be asked of the cultureholics this week if there's an age limit for friendships. That's a good
Okay,
question.
but even like the through like okay, so like it whatever
Not you
your
trying to
sexual
clean up the
no 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 no
hot
I'm just
take.
saying so like whatever your sexual orientation is, whoever you're attracted to, right? Like let's take it to here, right? So I'm attracted to males, I like males. And say I start hanging out with a like 23-year-old male and we have a really great friendship, but a lot of times friendship can turn into romance. Like so
Hmm.
what's the line there, right? Like
I think you're changing the narrative now, though.
I'm
You
not. I'm just
are.
saying that
Because
like
you're
that's a
talking
natural
about romance, because
progression.
it's different from romantic relationships and platonic relationships. It's two different things.
Right, but you're really strict on your platonic relationships to not cross over into something else.
Not all the time. It depends.
I
Some of
feel
my,
like I feel like
I
you're
have a
one of
couple of friends. I have a couple of friends, and we definitely didn't start off as friends. We started off frocking.
well that's no, I'm talking about starting off as friends. Like we've
we
talked
started
about
off.
this
We
so
started off.
much.
Look, we started off frocking, and then it came to be like, you my good sis. So
Mhm.
it's not giving that. And then we were friends. You feel
Mhm.
me? Um, I don't know.
No,
I
but
don't
like
know if
let's
I agree
no
with you. I don't
think
know if I
about
agree
it.
with you on this one because I don't know.
No, but think about it like how you're like, no, like, maybe it's something you did in like your older age. I don't know. Cause I feel like I hear once a month, like, I'm not letting that person go there with me, right? Like you say that a lot,
Hmm.
right? Because
In
you're a
what
caring
context are you talking
person.
about?
Just so like in friendship. So like in
Hmm.
friendship, okay? And you're a kind person, you're a caring person. You
I try
like
to
I
be.
feel like I was just telling Ellie this the other day. You text me good morning every day for a year.
Did I?
Yeah.
Wow.
You almost made it. You almost made it two, but then I was engaged, so I think you stopped when I was talking to Prince of Egypt.
Oh, when you cut me off for that no good. Ooh, that really irritated me. I was like, fuck these good morning texts. No, because I try to be a consistent person.
You, no,
It's
you
hard.
are. You are.
It's hard though. It's
Hmm.
hard though. Like like I have to even texting like my dad or my sister or like other people. I
Mhm.
have to actively, especially now that just life is starting to like ramp up a little bit for me.
Mhm.
It's hard to maintain friendships,
Yeah.
and the older you get, because then it's like we all got shit going on. Some of y'all got families now. Some of y'all got careers. Like it just is it's a lot. But I try to be consistent in friendships,
Yeah.
right? I try to be the friend that I expect from others.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, as far as age limit, I don't know. I don't know if
I'm
I
not
agree with
saying
you on
there's an
that.
age limit. What I'm actually saying is, and the reason I bring that up is because friendship is so intimate depending on the person that you're
Well, there's
connected with.
levels of friendship too, though, Lizzie.
There is. And so I acknowledge that, right? Like you may
Okay.
not like I guess what I'm saying is for someone that is a huge range difference than you to be your closest or best friend or the one that you spend a majority of time with, it it just feels different to me, you know?
Okay.
Like and
So you
maybe
can't
it's
be your best closest confidants is what you're saying is your closest confidants can't be someone who's way younger than you or way older.
yeah, like
Could you
I
be
mean,
close friends with a woman who's 50 years old?
yeah, well, actually, one of my friends is 14 years older than me, and but
Okay, then.
I have a sister that's 14 years older than me. But I don't know if I'm her closest friend. That's what I'm saying. Like she did call me best friend for a period in time when we lived together, but again, our lives were on similar places. She has been divorced. Her kids were not living with her. We were working at the same vocation at the time and going to the same church. So we had a lot of commonality.
I feel like we're moving the goalposts, Lizzie.
We're not. I promise you, we're not. I just feel like I can't articulate what I'm actually
Because you
trying to
just said that
say.
you have someone who you consider a best friend who's 14 years older than you.
Yes, and I think it's just so layered. It's so
So
layered.
now what you're saying is you'll do older, but you won't do younger. Because you're saying that the younger, I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm trying to
Yeah.
understand that the
Okay.
younger has less life experience. The 14 down or the 10 down, excuse me,
Yeah.
has less life experiences than the 10 up. So you're comfortable with the 10 up.
Yes. Yes.
But
That
that 10
actually.
up might not be comfortable with you because they might say the same thing that you don't have those life
Right.
experiences.
So but I actually have been rejected from friendship with female women that are older than me, that are married, and that have children. It's actually been a thing where they've
Okay.
been like, there's not a purpose for me to have a friendship with you. I'm married. You're not married. I have children. You don't have children. Like we don't have, like, I just feel like it's better for me to have married friends. Someone has had that conversation with
So
me.
what do we call? So I think, and then this could be a because I don't want to belabor the time. We got a
Yeah, yeah, I
clubhouse.
know.
Um, I always say belabor the time.
Like a preacher.
Like a preacher. I don't want to hold y'all long. So I
Mhm.
think we're gonna have to put a pin in this one because
Yeah.
I think the conversation here is defining actual what a friendship is. There's
Hmm.
levels. I feel like there's levels and tiers for
Hmm.
friendships. There's
Yeah.
friends that I will go out and have drinks with,
Hmm.
brunch with,
Hmm.
you know, go to a show, go to a fashion show, go to a concert with, but I might not trust you with the deep, darkest secrets.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't
So
get to hear
there's,
my dreams. Like,
huh?
you don't get to hear my dreams.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, 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 yeah. So I think there's levels of friendship. And I think with those levels of friendships, maybe that's where we can maybe, maybe
mhm.
introduce age restrictions
I
um
never said
and
restriction. I just think it's
and
weird.
marital statuses and
Yeah.
like all of that. But I don't know. I don't know where I stand on that. Well, I know where I stand on that. No, I don't know where I stand on that because I get where you're
You
coming from.
don't know because when does someone actually become a for real life adult? It's not 18 like the government says. So I'm thinking of the sense of like Brian Peck would stop being friends with a teenager, but
Well, no,
when
that's
no.
we are outside of that conversation. We've
Yeah.
moved on because we know a grown person can't be a friend with someone under the age of 18.
Yeah.
Like it's not possible.
Right.
That's not your that's not your friend.
Like
I try to keep the profanity down a little
hmm
bit. But
Yeah.
that's not your friend.
Such a freaking friend. It's not
That's
your
like a
friend.
freaking friend. Like that really pissed me off watching that because, and it
Hmm.
made me think about the Drake shit because
Hmm.
you can't have friends with
And
children.
this kid was hanging out with him and his friends.
Yes, it
That's
makes me think
wild.
about Usher
Yeah,
hanging out
with
with
Diddy.
Diddy at his house. Usher was like 13 years old, and there was strippers walking by, and hookers, and cocaine probably being done, and bottles being popped. And this 13-year
Blunts
old
being
kid's like,
rolled.
yeah, and this 13-year-old Usher is like, oh, this is so cool. Like, I'm having the time of my life. My other friends are like playing Nintendo right now, and
Hmm.
I'm snorting coke off of a stripper's ass crack, like allegedly.
Allegedly.
Um,
I get what you're saying, and I know like it's multi-leveled, it's multi-layered when it comes to actual adults and friendship.
hmm
But I just think maybe I think about those things because I wonder why, like at my grown age, do I want to go do if I've been with other younger people, like hanging out, like what am I getting out of this?
I get that.
You know?
But then again, sometimes like if you still want to be outside, if you still want to go to the brunches, if you still want to
True.
go to the festivals, if you still want to go to concerts, sometimes people in our age group they think that hit a certain age and then they gotta stop living life.
And they're so boring. Yes, I understand
Yeah,
that.
and they're so boring. It's like, oh, a concert. Why would I want to go there? All right, girl,
Oh my
bye.
god, I go to bed at 9. It starts at 9. Like
Exactly.
what? Yes, it's
So I
multi-layered.
think you could have a wide range, and then you got to also
Hmm.
factor into like people who work, people who work, traditional jobs, or you work with a lot
Yeah.
of different people, and then you could develop a friendship just with work. I love Abbott Elementary. You
Hmm.
know, Janine would say that um what's the teacher's name? Um
I know you're talking about. I
Cheryl
don't know the name.
Cheryl Lee Ralph's character.
Yeah.
She's like, that's my friend. You feel me? There's a
Yeah.
huge age gap. That could be her mother. But sometimes
Yeah.
working relationships, you have work
Like
friends.
your work friends. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so
I think
that's
I'm only solely thinking of like if so you're my best friend, right? Like I'm your close friend, but you're my best friend. And if you were like 23, I feel like it would be weird.
okay.
And that's just how I feel about it, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let us know in the comments, y'all. Let
They're
us know
gonna
in the
drag
comments,
me.
okay? They might not. They might not. They might say that I'm wrong. Because the people say that I'm wrong a lot. Like my
Really?
usher take, yeah, my
Oh,
usher take got eviscerated.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They thought that I was trying to bring down a black man. Usher's my favorite. Like I've been on record saying Usher's like my favorite R&B artist, male R&B
Hmm.
artist, top five. Well, no, he's number one. But out of the males, right? So I don't hate Usher. I never hated Usher. I just said that Usher did some weird shit, and I was
Right.
wondering why Usher picked now, out of all the times, to go do some weird shit with everything that's going on with him in his career.
With this big Kool-Aid smile next to Russell, like,
Yeah, like, sir,
what?
put your shirt back on. First of all, y'all over here, like, what's happening? So yeah, that didn't mean like I hate Usher or I want to see Usher
Hmm.
fall. I hope Usher's never done. I would be devastated if I ever
Yeah.
heard that Usher did some weird shit like
Yeah.
we saw on this documentary. Right? I would be
Hmm.
devastated. There's a couple of people, and I'll end with this, that I would be devastated if I heard that they did some shit like we saw on Quiet on Set.
Hmm.
Usher,
Yeah.
devastated. Beyonce,
Devastated.
devastated. LeBron, Raymond,
LeBron.
James,
Oh God, I would implode.
devastated. 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 I would disavow him so fast, so
Oh,
quick. I would disavow everything about LeBron James.
please.
No, but yeah, so there's certain people who like if they didn't, Kiki Palmer. If I ever heard like she was like a weirdo, devastated.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not against Usher. I'm just against weird shit. All right. So yeah, people don't always like my take. So we'll see. We'll see what the people are gonna say. But I suggest everybody watch Quiet on Set.
Yes.
It's 4 parts. Um, get through it. It's tough to get through, but it's really, 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 really good. What else?